Bridget and I are just sitting here editing today's video. We really hope you enjoy it. Hopefully it's helpful if you're planning on gardening this year. And did I forget anything, Bridget? Nope. All right, well, we love you guys. Hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, Plant-Based Gabriel out here in the greenhouse. This is my Harbor Freight 10 by 12 greenhouse in front of my seedlings, and I was out here just doing some work this afternoon. It's a bit chilly, so not much to be done out in the garden area, but a lot to be done in here and a lot to be thinking about as we're jumping into spring and getting ready for a lot of our summer crops to get rolling. And with things that are happening around us in the world, there's a lot of interest in gardening. There's a lot of worries about what am I going to be able to eat, or what am I going to be able to grow, and people are wanting to take some of those food security issues or worries into their own hands. And I think growing a garden is probably the best way to go about doing that. And it's something that takes some planning, it's something that takes some know-how, but it certainly doesn't take any expertise, and that's why I think it's a great thing for everybody to get into. Today I want to just talk a little bit about some of the plants I have growing and some of the plans we have going into 2020, the growing season, thinking about possible worries or whatever, just thinking about growing in 2020 this year. You will see that I'm here in front of some seedlings, and one of the first and best things that you can do as a home gardener or a home grower, if you're wanting to ensure your food security, is starting the plants that you really want from seed. Now, I wouldn't say plan to do it 100% your first year. You may need to go buy some seedlings or expect to buy some seedlings, and there are options to do that. You could find local growers. I mean, there's a farm just across the street that grows seedlings every spring. Now, I don't purchase from them, not because I'm against it, but just because I'd rather grow my own. But there's those options. You can always go the big box store routes. What you're going to get is traditionally grown garden vegetables that are going to work out fine. But something that you can do that's what I find to be even more fun is growing varieties that you're not going to find at the store. Now, I'm sitting here in front of seedlings these are probably a couple months old now. Well, probably 6 weeks old. These are mostly tomatoes that you're seeing, but there's many varieties that you may not have ever heard of, that I've never heard of, that I get to grow, and one of them might just be right here. This is called the Coyote. This is a wild type cherry tomato. It's yellow, it's super vigorous. One you're not going to find at your big box store, but I think I got this seed from Baker Creek, and just seemed too great not to purchase. And so what I'm able to do is grow here in the greenhouse and grow something like this. Would probably be a couple dollars, well, if you could find it. But not going to be cheap, and so for just a few dollars in seeds, I'm able to grow dozens and dozens of seedlings, and so that's a big option. And one thing I really do recommend is trying to grow your own seedlings, because there's things like this Wonder Berry. Also, I think this is also from Baker Creek. Now, similar to a tomato, it's a Solanaceous family plant, but it produces a sweeter type berry that you can make jams and different compotes, things like that with. So I'm excited to give it a try. I'm also going to put it in some salsas this year as well, and there's many other things. They've got peppers out here, tomatoes and eggplants, and the list goes on and on for things that you can grow. It just really comes down to, number one, your space, the availability of seed, which is becoming a worry right now, but then also things like your growing season. Do you have the time or the space to grow those things? So those are big issues, but grow some seedlings yourself at home. Another important thing to think about, especially if we're worried somewhat about seed security or where we're going to get our seeds or varietal types, something that I've seen happen just in my short time gardening in the past couple years, but something that old timers say happens a lot, is you get used to buying a specific variety year after year. Now, that could be a collard green, that could be a type of tomato, it could be a pepper, but a specific plant that you really enjoy year after year. But then all it takes is one problem in the growing cycle, or the major distributor of that seed saying, hey, our sales are going down, we're going to discontinue that and go to another plant. And that happens every single year. You hear about it every single year. And so one way that you can combat that is saving your own seed. Now, there are some things that are a little bit harder to save. There are some things that are easier to save. And it also becomes the question of the purity of the seed you're saving. Now, myself personally, I'm a big fan of saving landrace type varieties of plants. That could be beans, greens, different types of tomatoes, but that's where you're growing multiple types, letting the best ones reproduce, saving the seed off of that, and you're really going to be growing a different variety, and there's more to get into that, and I, of course, can cover that in other topics. But in the basis, I really do recommend and I really enjoy saving seed. Now, right here in front of me, I've got many different types of tomatoes. We've got, the great thing about this is a lot of this is saved seed. Now, I'm just going to go through here, and this one right here is a landrace red cherry. Now, I grew a bunch of different types of red cherry tomatoes, and over the past couple years have saved seeds to my very favorite ones. Now, I couldn't tell you the specific variety. I couldn't tell you, the seed, where I got that direct seed from, but this is the variety that I've begun growing. I've continued to grow, and what you'll find if you're saving seed, you do it right, and tomato seeds are pretty easy to save. These are the most vigorous, best seeds that you can find, so I would highly recommend it. Other things that we've got growing here are something like, this is a landrace eggplant. I grew a couple different types of eggplants, found the ones that I really enjoyed. It's got a little weed in there. But these ones turned out to be the best, so we're growing our landrace eggplant. And the great thing about this is, I knew I had seed. I didn't have to go order it. I didn't have to jump on there and make a bunch of sales. Now, there are plants here that I'm testing out. Like I said, that coyote. What else do we have here? We've got something like the wonderberry. There's different plants that I test out every year. But majority of plants that I grow are ones that I really do save seed from because I really enjoy it. And also, I know I'm going to have that seed. Now, is it going to be super specific to type? Is it going to be the exact same thing that I say, that I had bought in the 2 or 3 years previously? No. But is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I think that's a good thing. If you look into landrace breeding of vegetables, it's really how your great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents grew vegetables previously. They didn't go to the seed catalog and get this specific plant or this. They went to their neighbor who had a variety of beans, pole beans or bush beans, or a variety of kale or collards that they had been saving seed from for 10 years or generations, who knows. And you got those seeds, and then you maybe traded some of your home-saved tomato seed. And it really went like that. Not until around 70 years ago, from my understanding, did we really start to see the mass purchase of seed every single year. And what you get from that is a few things. And that's maybe for another topic, but I think I'll dive into it for a second. I had to go over to the other side of the greenhouse. It's a 10 by 12 greenhouse, so it wasn't that far of a walk. But I grabbed this collard green plant. Now, this is not a very old collard green plant. I think this is only like 6 or 8 weeks old. I mean, it's very vigorous. It's growing great. I've already harvested a few leaves. But this is what I wanted to represent. When I'm talking about landrace or home-saving seed, this variety of collard greens is a strain that I'm growing. I'm calling them more so super greens because I've crossbred, open pollinated different types of collard greens and a few different types of other brassica, mostly Brassica oleracea, which is more of like your harder leafed kales. But I wanted plants that were vigorous, that were going to be resistant to insects in my area. And that may seem way far-fetched, that may seem a very hard thing to do. But realistically, all I'm doing is getting a bunch of different types of more so heirloom, traditionally pure strain of seed, growing them together, watching them grow, picking the plants that I enjoy the best of different varieties, and then once they go to flower, letting those breed, saving the seed from those plants, right, the plants I really enjoy, that have crossbred with the other ones, and taking the strongest ones. Now this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th generation of those type of plants, and not only do I have a great sense of security saving my own seed, but I'm also growing much more vigorous, better producing plants here on the farm, which is a huge plus. So I'd really highly recommend, if you didn't get anything, I'd highly recommend trying to save some seed. Now, you can start small, pick 1 or 2 varieties or one plant. Tomatoes are a great one because you can actually grow a lot of tomatoes very close in proximity and save seed pretty reliably. Now, it's not going to be, you wouldn't want to resell that per se, but you can save that seed and know, hey, this is going to be pretty true to type, or you could try to breed them together and get different varieties, kind of like these collard greens, but because we do love collard greens here on the farm. So I would recommend trying to save some seed. Brassicas are a great one. understanding that if your neighbor who has a garden 50 or 100 feet away or 200 feet away, you're probably going to have some cross-pollination, so look out for that. But here on the farm, I've done tests where I've grown a row of collard greens, a row of kale. They flowered at the exact same time. I've let them crossbreed. I've taken that seed, and about 80 to 85% of those seeds have been pretty true to type on the row they were grown on, meaning that they bred only with the plants in their close proximity. And that's been 2 or 3 generations ago that I tested that out. But so it's not a super big worry, but you definitely wouldn't want to sell this as a pure strain of any sorts. But landrace varieties, I'd highly recommend it. Another thing I would think about when we're talking about food security, growing your own garden, having plants that you're producing yourself. You don't have to have a greenhouse to do this, of course. You can do this on a windowsill, on top of the refrigerator. Anywhere that's warm, you can germinate seeds and then get them to a sunny spot. Now we're getting into getting really into the heart of spring. Not the heart of spring, but getting into the beginning of spring, where our warm days are getting more and more. Our cold days, really, we're probably past our last frost date, crossing fingers. But you can really start plants indoors, get the seedlings outside, kind of get them acclimated, and then get them ready to roll. You can do that on a deck, you can do that on a porch, but there's a lot of different options there. But however you're growing your seedlings, I would recommend growing a little bit more than you think you're going to need, because something like this could happen. You could catch yourself in a food shortage worry. I'm not saying that's what we're in or what we're going to get. I hope we're not. But having some few extra seedlings is never a bad thing. And worst case scenario, you're like me, and we're here getting ready to, we're just probably 2 or 3 weeks out from planting seedlings, and I keep an extra tray here. I grow quite a bit extra, especially if you're saving seed, because the seed's free. You grow it yourself, and you want to continue on the progression of those seeds and continue the breeding of them. So you want to get most of those seeds out growing so that you can save seed from that next generation. But here's a tray of seedlings, and what do we have here? We've got goji berries, eggplants, we have some different tomatoes. This is a lemon cherry tomato that I've been growing for a couple years now, home saved. And you can see these plants aren't nearly as big as the ones that I put in 3.5-inch pots, but if worse comes to worse and I needed to plant more tomatoes or eggplants, or say something terrible happened when I planted those out, I could always take these smaller plants, maybe a little bit less vigorous because they've been growing in a smaller area, but I can get these out into the garden and they will come up perfectly fine. And if I don't need them, you can have some really happy neighbors or friends who you'll be able to gift these plants to, and everybody wins when you grow a little bit extra and you're able to give it away to your family and friends. So make sure you grow a little bit extra. You might need them yourself, or you can always give them away. These are going to probably be heading over to some friend's house, because I really think there's nothing better than going to a friend's house or a family member or whoever's in the middle of summer and eating a meal and having them say, or having them show you the produce that your seeds or your seed starts have produced. So that's a big thing. I really enjoy it. So grow a little bit extra. Well, I think that's probably it for most of today's video. I just out here in the greenhouse thought I would turn the old camera on. I want to do more content like this, talking to you guys and just sharing with you what's happening here on the farm, the homestead, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so if you've enjoyed today's video, make sure you smash that like button, share this with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribed and hit that little bell, and you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. So I am Gabriel. I'm out here in the greenhouse. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Check out the playlist there to your left or right, and check out what's happening in the kitchen or on the farm here on our 1-acre vegan farm. We'll see you guys.